let's
Yes.
flip the script. We got maybe about 10 minutes. So let's
Okay.
flip this a little bit. I'm a
Okay.
studio owner.
Yes.
I got artists, I got apprentices, I got a
Yes.
team of five, Olivia? A team of five, plus 4 artists, plus apprentices. So I got a studio, lots of people.
They're all counting on you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and we've got lots of people listening to this podcast right now that are studio owners that
Mm-hmm.
they're not addicted at all. At all.
Mm-hmm.
No addiction problems. Fine. Like me now in my life. But what would you suggest as a studio owner if one of our artists, one of our employees, we discover, first let's put it 2 ways. Let's scenario 1, we discover without them telling us, we found out all on our own, they're using, there's an addiction problem. And then scenario 2, they come to us.
Yeah.
They come to us, they bare their soul, they're trusting us with this information that they have addiction problems. So scenario 1, because you're fresh out of addiction into sobriety. What if you, how would a studio owner, what's the best advice we could give a studio owner if they discover someone on their team is using or maybe or deep into addiction or using? Maybe you don't even know if they're deep in addiction, but you've discovered some things to confirm that they're using. Maybe they're using at the studio, or maybe you're smelling stuff on them. How do we handle that as studio owners?
Yeah. Well, first off, anybody that is using or an addict, they don't want to be that way. They're screaming on the inside of somebody, please help me. Somebody, please notice. But the addiction takes over so much. So as an owner, if I were to see something like that, I would start to put out pamphlets of addiction recovery, just put them out. So everybody, and make it just so everybody within your studio has access to them.
Like don't say anything to the person, just put out some
Nope.
pamphlets.
Yes.
Because they might deny it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They would deny it, right? Because they haven't come to you. You've just, okay, I got you. So just put out some pamphlets. Okay.
Yes, to make sure, and then I mean, even have a meeting about it. It's your crew, right?
But don't call that person out. Just have a general meeting that you wanted to have. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Like
a group.
Studio policy. We want to talk about some studio policies or some studio, like the health of the studio. And this is one topic we wanted to touch on because this happens. Okay.
Yes. Yep. It happens in the workplace. You can even touch on COVID. Since COVID, it's even rearing its head even more so. But have educational pamphlets, have information, have phone numbers, because I guarantee you that person that has the addiction is paying attention.
Yeah. Well, and on the inside, they might be thinking she knows. Oh my God, she knows, right?
Yeah. And if you start to, because as an owner, you already have the trust of your employees. Yeah. So if you build that other side trust with that of, okay, I'm just saying, like, you're the business owner, Taryn's aware of abuse going on all over, not just, whatever, but now she's bringing it to us to make sure that she's a safe place to go. That's right there is just going to build trust as a business owner with an employee.
Okay. That's really good advice, Jen. Because
does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. I'm a studio owner, and I haven't really encountered. I've had a couple of incidences, but nothing that really required action. They resolved themselves, but it could have snowballed into a situation where I would have had to have taken some action, and I probably would have had to seek counsel, help on how to address that. So that's really good information. So the other scenario, what if someone comes to you in my studio, or anybody's studio, and tells you, look, I'm addicted to alcohol, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm going to go, blah, 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 blah. Like, how do you respond to that? What's the best way to respond to that? I mean, I think I know what you're going to say, and I know how I would, but I just like to hear what you have to say.
Right. Well, and see, you already opened up that communication with having that meeting. So when you're already going to be prepared as that business owner. So an employee comes in and says, I have a problem. I'm an alcoholic. I need help. You are already going to be prepared to have those pamphlets there with the phone numbers, with the hotlines, with the counselors to call, with the
Mm.
people to get in contact with. You are already prepared when that happens.
Should this maybe be in like the employee, like, because we have a professional, like all studios employees, you got to have a employee
Yes.
with policies and what. Should that be in
Yes.
your employee handbook, like a section on like addiction?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
we don't have
That
that, do we,
and
Olivia?
also,
Are you taking notes?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that and also, I mean, I'm gonna touch on this also. Narcan. Do you have Narcan in your studio, Sharon?
No, I don't. And that's the shot that you can give somebody if they're in the midst of a heroin overdose. Is that correct?
Correct. It's
Yeah,
the
no,
spray.
I don't
Yes.
have any Narcan, Jen.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you
You
just kind of
need.
caught me off guard with that, because sitting here even talking to you this whole last hour about addiction, I would never think in a
Yeah.
million years I or any studio owner should even think about or even consider we should have Narcan on
Mhm.
hand. I wouldn't
Yes.
even have thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
W-
This is going even deeper into mine. So we have to get going in a couple minutes, right? So yes, have Narcan. Narcan in every studio, have it. Wouldn't you want to save a life?
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if I would recognize, like, if it's like, I've never really been around that. I don't even know if I would
Yeah.
recognize it was someone having a heroin overdose or not. I don't even know if I would recognize it. If,
Yeah.
I mean, how would you know?
You don't know for sure.
But so
There's signs if they're,
if
oh,
someone was obviously passed out, they pass out in front of you.
mhm,
If you shot them with Narcan, but they didn't need it, maybe it was
mhm.
something else going on, but not heroin, but you thought, oh, this might be your heroin overdose. Because there are some cities around the country where that is more prevalent, right? There's a
Yes.
lot of that going on. There's an epidemic in certain
Yes.
cities around the area. So in certain cities, this might be, um, much more important to have on hand, right? Because
Mhm.
it's the same thing with like heroin addicts. It's not the person. It's not just the person living in a tent, the person homeless, the person that looks
No.
um,
No.
disheveled, or, on the corner, asking for change. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of normal looking, functioning housewives, people, smart people using.
So going back to what you had said, how do you know if it's heroin? So if you have somebody passed out and if you give them the Narcan and it's not heroin, it does not hurt them at all.
Doesn't hurt them. So,
Does
okay.
not hurt them. Does not hurt them. Nope. And if it is heroin, you saved a life.
Yeah, that's
I
really
have
good.
it in my purse. I have it at my studio.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly going to address our employee handbook
Yes.
and figure out how to put a
Yeah.
section in and address that.
Yes.
Because you're right, they're starting, it's unfortunate, but they're starting younger and younger and younger
Yes.
and younger and younger and younger, and it is out of control right now. And I think you hit it on the head that, COVID, a lot of people just have not recovered
No.
from COVID, and a lot of it is the youth. Imagine the young people that they didn't get their prom.
Yeah.
They, all that got, taken away from them because of COVID. And I mean, that's devastating.
Yes.
That's absolutely devastating. And, I have two godchildren, and they're still timid. COVID really messed them up. They're 12 and 14 now. So,
Yeah.
and at 12 and 14, they still want to have a mask on when they go out in public. They don't really want, they're still healing, mentally and emotionally healing from COVID. It changed them. It just
Yes.
completely changed them. And they have fear and anxiety now. And it's just devastating, it's just devastating. So those are two people that are close to Kat and I, and their mom, they have a great mom and dad who are working with them and through this with therapy and whatnot,
Yeah.
but that's just two kids, imagine. I think it's millions. I think there's millions of people out there that just didn't come through COVID okay, and
Yeah.
they're suffering today. And one way we humans tend to handle and get through suffering is through substance, taking
Substance.
something that relieves the pain, relieves the anxiety, because it doesn't feel good
Yeah.
sitting with that. So,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as a studio owner, I would be very compassionate,
Yeah.
and I would work with my artists and my
Absolutely.
team member, and their job would be safe here.
Yes.
I would hold it for them here
Yes.
while they went and got help. And I know we as a studio would rally around that person and support them. And I think most people would, because like I said earlier, I think most people are good,
Yes. Yes.
really. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything, last little tidbits? Miss, your last name, Beamlander?
Beamlander. No, like you started off, if we can help just one person, that's going to be amazing. You're not alone. You are not alone through this
No,
at
no,
all.
you're not alone.
Yeah.
That's why I started talking about anxiety and
Mhm.
like some of the way my thoughts recycle, and my anxiety on the podcast, and more openly, and some of the stuff that I go through, and my guests opening up more about it, because it's most of us. It's
Yeah.
most of us are suffering from at least one thing. I
Yes.
think you're lucky if you're only suffering from one thing. Right? Most of us
Yeah.
have a few things going on
Right.
with us. but but a lot of people think they're alone. They do.
Yeah.
They really
Yeah.
do. They think they're alone, and they're
Yeah.
not. They're surrounded by people that are going through or have gone through exactly what they're going through currently, and
Yeah.
there's lots of people to support them. So
Mm.
it's just letting them know that, letting
Yeah.
them know that. So I thank you for coming on here and being vulnerable, and sharing your story, and the whole, even just how to talk about it in the workplace before you even possibly encounter that, right? Just creating a safe space before
Yeah.
something that even happens. I think that was really great advice. It's something I never thought about, Jen, until just a few moments ago. It never dawned on me
Yeah.
to talk about that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was something I would imagine I would talk about if it ever happened. But
Right.
you're right. Why not
Be prepared. Mhm.
create dialogue and policies and referrals now, so you're
Yeah.
prepared if it does so in fact happen. So
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's really great.
Yeah.
Well, my dear, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. I sure do
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
don't go anywhere. I'm going to say goodbye to our listeners, and then
Okay.
I'll come back to you. Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Yep.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode, Jen and I. And it was certainly enlightening for me. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. And I hope you heard us. I hope you heard Jen and you heard me when we tell you that you are not alone. Whatever you are suffering from, you are not alone. You are not alone. And if that's the one and only thing that you get from this podcast, you are not alone, and there is help and there is hope, then I am so glad you tuned into this podcast. So stay in the pursuit of happiness, everybody. And I love you, and we will see you next time on A Tatter-a-fact.